Hi everyone, welcome back to the next diecast. In today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale Bugatti Bolide made by Bburago. I got this model from Sam's Club for $17. Thought that was a great deal. And you can find the model elsewhere online on sites such as eBay and other similar sites like Amazon or individual kind of model car sites for usually between $40 and $50. Models made by Bburago tend to be a little bit more than models made by Maisto, even though they're both kind of under the same brand umbrella. But I probably wouldn't pay more than $50 for this particular model. This model of the Bugatti Bolide is based off the prototype version of the car, which was unveiled online in late 2020 and will be unveiled in person in August of 2021. The production version of the Bolide was actually just recently announced, and it does look largely similar to the prototype version, which is really cool to see because this is a really amazing looking vehicle. And it is a track-focused car as well. It has a W16 engine in it, as you can see by this inscription back here. And only 40 units of this vehicle will be made. And the first deliveries of the car will be taking place in 2024. And each of those units will cost around $4.39 million each. In fact, the prototype version of the car was actually in this exact same color scheme as well. The dark metallic gray with the blue paint on various portions of the vehicle, as you see here with this model. And this model has also been released in a gray and yellow version, as well as a gray and bright green version. The gray and bright green version was exclusive to Sam's Club in 2022, whereas the gray and yellow and the gray and blue versions are standard colors that this model is going to be made in. And I imagine that more colors will be released of this model in future years as well. So, in general, I think Bburago did do a good job with this model as a whole. We'll go ahead and get into the details of the model. We'll start up here at the front. Now, one interesting thing about the Bugatti Bolide is that these X's here are actually the headlights. I thought maybe at first these were just like some sort of like a paint detail on the car, but on the real car, the headlights are in fact these X's that you see here. Now, Bburago did just paint these on instead of kind of casting them as separate pieces, so it does look a slight bit cheap in that sense. But when you do look pictures of the real Bolide prototype, they do kind of look like they're painted on in a way, because they are sort of like these white lensed lights, and they do fit pretty much completely flush with the body. So I imagine it will be kind of hard for Bburago to kind of make these as separately cast plastic pieces. But although they are painted on, they are at least the right size, shape, and proportion to the rest of the car. And then also in the front here, you have the iconic grille that Bugattis have had for quite some time now, probably since the beginning of their history of making cars. And you do have the Bugatti badge in the center of that grille, which is actually a raised up piece, which looks very well done. Down here, Bburago also did a good job with the shape of the lower grills and with the various vents and cutouts that you see on the car as well. The Bolide is a rather difficult car to make a model of because there's just so much going on in terms of the geometry and just the numerous vents, intakes, and kind of cutouts that you see, both kind of on the top portion of the body and on the sides and also in the rear as well. But Bburago, I think, did do a great job kind of capturing just the overall look and shape of the model, in addition to all the different shapes of the intakes and various vents that you'll kind of see throughout the car here. But back to the front, you do have these cutouts on the front portion here. There is no like hood per se, and there's no luggage compartment. You can actually see the suspension components and the steering system actually through these cutouts here. And this is all made of die-cast metal. The lower portion of this bumper, where it actually does say champagne carbon, which the real car does have inscribed on it, I guess we can say. This lower portion here is made of plastic, but the rest of the car, aside from the rear wing, which I'll talk about later, is made of die-cast metal. And that being said, the model is very lightweight, and that would be accurate to the real car because it's a race car, so it needs to be lightweight in order to, you know, reach its top speed. As far as the rest of the front goes, I kind of already mentioned all the different cutouts and whatnot. You actually do have cutouts above the front wheel wells too. Bburago did a good job with those as well. And you do have the single wiper in the center of the windshield. Bburago did a good job with that too. And you have this scoop up here on the roof that's done in plastic, but I think the paint matches quite well with the metal portions of the car. And the same holds true for this front bumper as well as the rear wing. Although they're made out of plastic, the paint, I think, on those parts matches well with the paint on the die-cast portions of the model. Speaking of the paint, Bburago did an excellent job with the paint on the model. The dark gray areas you see are a metallic finish, as you'll see in this lighting right here. And the blue portions are done kind of a more of like a glossy finish. And the same will hold true for the gray and yellow and gray and green versions of the model, where the dark gray portions will be a metallic finish and the colored portions will be a glossy finish. And that holds true to the real car as well. So Bburago, I think, did an excellent job in that sense. Take a look next at the wheels. You don't have any spokes or anything, but you do have these kind of red center caps, and the same does hold true for the real car's wheels as well. So Bburago did do a good job with what little detail I guess there would be to do for the wheels. And they do have that nice blue trim going around the perimeter as well. The tires are also completely flat because this was intended to be a race car, so you don't have any tread on the tires like you would see on a regular kind of road-bound car. And you do have steering on the model, but it doesn't work that well. Bburago's had this problem for a long time now, where although they put steering on their models, if you turn the wheels, they just go back to being straight when you let go of them. I mean, it kind of stays a little bit here when I turn them this way, but when I turn them that way, they just kind of snap back in place. They've had that problem for quite some time now. At least they're, I guess, trying by including steering, but I think they definitely could have improved on that a bit here. And there is no suspension, but that's not really a big deal. Bburago hasn't put suspension on their models, I don't think ever, unless maybe their earlier models did. I'm not totally sure on that. Taking a look further down the sides, you'll see the Bugatti inscription along with that little French flag up there. Looks very well done, and the real car does have that. And it looks like we have the Michelin Man up here too. I always kind of forget that he's on there. He's very hard to see because he's sort of small, but all the inscriptions you see throughout the car are embossed on there nicely. And then further down the side, you'll see these side intakes on here. They are done in plastic, but they do match up well, I think, with the metal portions of the car. And then you have even more vents and intakes back here, and the filler cap up on here. And this model does include side windows. Bburago does not usually put side windows on their models, but for the Bolide they did, and I think it looks very cool. And then back here you have the Jacob & Company Champagne Carbon. I'm not sure if on the production version of the Bolide, if all of these different inscriptions will be on it or not. The same color schemes, I think, will be offered, I suppose, but I'm not sure if any of these inscriptions will make it over to the production version. But as far as the prototype goes, this is accurate. Up here you will see the W16.4 inscription and the rear wing as well. Now these are both made of kind of a thin plastic, so be careful with it, and I would definitely not pick up the model by these parts. That being said, they are, I think, the right overall size and shape and whatnot, so Bburago did do a decent job, I would say, in that sense. And you have some more cutouts back here as well, where you can actually see the rear tires, which is a cool touch. The engine is somewhat visible, but not really. I'm not sure if on the prototype you could like remove this whole piece. I think for most of Bugatti's recent vehicles, the rear engine covers were kind of fixed in place. And then if something had to be done to the engine, then Bugatti's team would come and, you know, work their magic, I suppose. But what little you can see of the engine through these cutouts in the die-cast body, Bburago did do a decent job with showing there. And then you do have the Bugatti logo inscribed on the sides of the wing, which look well done. And then taking a look at the rear of the model, Bburago, I think, did a great job back here as well. The rear portion of the Bolide does look very menacing and has lots of different angles and whatnot going on. You can see that most of the rear tires are actually visible through the rear, which is a cool touch. And Bburago, I think, did a decent job with the exhaust system that you see right here. They painted those in black like you would see on the real car. And the diffuser is also well done back here. And Bburago, I think, also did a great job with the taillights. The taillights are very thin and kind of hard to see, but Bburago did do a good job with them. They're actually done in separately cast red plastic pieces, which I found kind of surprising, considering just how thin these taillights would be on the car and on the model here too. Bburago did do a great job with those. They very well could have just painted them on or used like stickers or something like that, but they actually put them on as separately cast translucent red pieces. So they did a great job for sure. Now, in terms of opening features on the model, you only get the opening doors. I don't think any other features on the prototype version of the Bolide do open per se, so I think that's totally fine. And the doors open up like so. They're kind of like these gullwing doors. You just have to pull them from back here and then lift them forward. The passenger side is a bit trickier compared to the driver's side. We'll see if I can get it with one hand. Oh, there we go. But yeah, the doors look really cool on the model, especially if you have it up on the shelf like that. They just look very cool. And Bburago, I think, did a good job with replicating these doors. They do feel very sturdy when you move them up and down, which is key, because a lot of budget model manufacturers, when they make models like this with this style of door, they aren't always the best quality. They can be loose and whatnot. I still wouldn't open these too often because you want to kind of maintain their appearance, I guess, and not have them kind of eventually just fall back down when you lift them up, because the hinges will weaken when they're used often. But as long as you open the doors fairly infrequently, you should not run into that problem. So we'll take a look at the interior detailing next. It's going to be kind of hard to see in here because of the angles of which the doors open like that. But Bburago, I think, did a really good job with the interior detail. You can see all the different buttons on the steering wheel and on the center stack are painted on, and they look fairly accurate to what the real car would actually have. And the steering wheel is kind of in that yoke shape that you would see on the real car. There it is, kind of moving with the wheels, and you have kind of this nice carbon fiber textured plastic pattern going on both the dashboard and also on the door panels too. I'm gonna try to maybe move it over here so you can see a little bit better. Or not. Oh well. But yeah, for the black portion of the door panels, it's kind of done in that textured plastic to simulate carbon fiber, and then you have kind of that glossy or smooth pattern for the blue portions. And that same feature holds true for the rest of the interior as well. Bburago, I think, did a good job in general with the interior of the model. And with these seats, they are the accurate size and shape and whatnot. You can actually get a good look at them from up above like this. The harnesses are, I think, well replicated, although I believe on the real Bolide there's at least some level of blue going on the harnesses. I don't know if it's like blue trimmed or if the harnesses themselves are like blue fabric, but Bburago at least did a good job capturing the overall look and shape of the harnesses. And the seats themselves are also well done. They have that carbon fiber texture to them that you would see on the real car. So a good job in here, I would say, for sure. And from here, you can kind of get a better look at the carbon fiber texture on the seats that I was referring to. But Bburago, I think, did a good job in general with the interior detail of the model. And to close the doors, you just kind of push them back into place. They actually do kind of lock shut like that. So if you hold the car upside down, the doors will not fall open. Now, the undercarriage, there really is nothing to see. It's just all flat, just like the real car would be. So Bburago definitely did do a good job with this model in terms of overall details and quality, I would say, for sure. There are some areas that could have been improved on, like the steering system is not the best, and I think maybe having a little bit of a thicker plastic material for the rear wing unit would have been better than what they have on here. But aside from that, the model, I think, is replicated very well. In terms of other larger scale models of the Bolide, there aren't any available as of right now, and I'm sure once they are available, it'll probably be like upper end, like resin models, like maybe made by BBR or MR Collection or one of those brands. But I think for a budget model of this supercar, Bburago did do a great job. And if you're a fan of Bugattis or supercars or hypercars in general, I think this model would definitely be a good model to have for your collection. So feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on the model, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.